I'm seriously appalled as an African, as a technocrat, as a leader, as a news enthusiast, as an investigative journalist. What I'm basically reading, or what I'm getting from the news stations, from the websites, or from the newspapers, especially reporting on Congo or the war in Congo, is really appalling. Why should we allow this one to happen as Africans? What do we really do wrong, especially to our Creator, for us to continue suffering every day, every month, every year, since the Caucasian race or the Europeans came to Africa? Yes, they left our countries, but what was left is far more worse than they were back in Africa. Yeah, we do understand that the Belgium especially did atrocities in DR Congo. And today, my focus is going to be on DR Congo. As I repeat once again that as Africans, there must be something very fundamentally wrong in our brains to allow such a kind of atrocities to be happening in the 21st century. It's really appalling that the leaders we choose or we put in power, or some of them just grab power, whether by manipulating the elections so that they become presidents in Africa. I don't really understand how somebody can sit in the presidential palace, look at the camera and tell people lies. I don't really understand how these presidents go to the African Union. They talk a lot of words. They really spew a lot of words. They promise us heaven, but deliver hell. What is really wrong with the Africans? What is really wrong with us? Look at what is happening in Congo. Just look at what is really happening in Congo. How do we expect our countries to progress while we have problems in Congo? How do we expect even to move forward so that we can progress as a continent? Let me look back. I'm a student of history, but I look at some of the emerging superpowers. Let's look at the Asian tigers. They did not beg or kneel down to Western powers or to the European nations or to America so that they can progress or so that they can make their countries to grow economically. Look at Singapore. If I can really give you a brief history of Singapore, you can really laugh at Africa. Singapore has no natural resources. Singapore, during let me take for instance my country back in Kenya. We loaned Singapore back in 1962 for them, because they really had very serious economical downfall. So we loaned them. But look at us today. Look at us today. We are a laughing stock. Our own president was, the other day, voted as the worst, as a number 2 corrupt leader in the whole world. That really touched me so much. I don't understand how our president could really be in that particular position. It doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. What really happened? We've even seen a lot of information. The president really knows very well that, especially people in Central Africa, people in DR Congo, has got issues with the French government. I applaud one of our wonderful sisters, Chihombori, who once was hosted by KDRTV News. And I was shocked at her intellect. I was shocked at her wordings, especially condemning on how she really condemned France. That France just donated independence to the Francophone countries. They just basically donated. And they told them that after we donate to you the presidency, what you'll be doing to our country is that you ensure that all central banks of your country will be controlled from France, from Paris. What is that, surely? Are we really understanding issues the way they're supposed to be sorted out? Right now, we call the region the Sahel, the Burkina Faso, the Niger, and some other, Western or Central African and Western countries, and Western Africa countries. They are now chasing away France, and Mali is. So what is really happening in our country, that in our continent, that we cannot move forward? What bewitched Africans? That during elections, rather than electing somebody who is going to help them, they elect idiots. They elect thieves. What is really happening in Africa? Now let's focus on what is happening in Congo. It's really very unfortunate that the Democratic Republic of Congo, a country which is really endowed with a lot of resources, but as we speak today, children, women, men are languishing in poverty. And now let's push it further to the eastern side of the Democratic Republic of Congo. I don't know how, whichever way you look at it, we are talking about the Goma area, or the border, the country's border to Uganda and Rwanda, that children have been misplaced. Now it's almost 30 years since all these problems started. The reasons that this country is having problems is purely based on resources. Yes, we've heard that we've heard that there are some internal issues, especially that Rwanda is telling Congo that it's neglecting its citizens, especially the citizens who are born in, who have been living in Congo since even independence, even before even before the colonialists came to Africa. That is when we had the partition and scramble of Africa in Berlin. That is in 1884. And the major problem or the major threat which really came to Africa is the colonialists. Because when they were basically subdividing the countries, or basically allocating themselves, it was just like a piece of bread they put on the table, and then they just cut it into sizes, whatever they wanted to do it. They never looked at the demographics, especially on what we call the tribes or the clans back in Africa. They were basically drawing straight lines. Straight lines. This one here, give it to Britain. This one here, give it to France. The other one, give it to Belgium. The other one, give it to whatever country. So this is the problem we are really experiencing today. For example, in Rwanda and in Congo, or DR Congo, we have the Tutsi, we have the Hutu. Because the white man or the Caucasians or the Europeans basically drew a line to subdivide, to put Rwanda and Burundi in a different country, and then Congo in a different country. But they didn't look at the demographic. They didn't look that where they're basically putting a straight line, we have the Hutus. They're basically dividing a whole tribe into two, one to Congo and another one to Rwanda or to Burundi. This is a creation of the Caucasian or the Europeans. Why should we buy this particular nonsensical way of subdividing us up to today? Why can't we really do something better for our country? Are we really crazy that we can accept having this nonsense in our country? Right now, children are sleeping hungry. Most of them are getting sick, and as you've heard that Trump has refused to fund WHO, the World Health Organization is really scrambling on how to get vaccines to these children, on how to get food to these children and women who are really having a problem. There are some videos, or there are some images I cannot really put out here because of strict regulations by YouTube or by Facebook. But if I could have shared with you some of those pictures, you could really wonder. You could really look at them and start crying. It's not fair. But what we need to do, we as Africans, what we need to do, we as professionals, what we really need to do. I'm urging the diaspora, especially the African diaspora. This is a clarion call to you. You guys coalesce together, think on our strategy to help our continent. Think about our country. Think about our continent. Then we can move forward. Let's also formulate a way whereby we can put sanctions, especially the colonialists. Some of them should be paying reparations back to Africa. They should come and even build roads for free without even us paying them a single cent or a single dime. We should also put very stringent measures for them to get our resources. I applaud the former president, or the late president of Tanzania, John Pombe Magufuli. He really did what Africans needs to be doing. And I'm also getting some wonderful information from this young man called Ibrahim Traore from Burkina Faso. He's really trying so much. He's donated, or the government has bought tractors, farm inputs, farm equipment, and donated them to the people down there. So these are some of the things we are supposed to be looking at. Do you know that right now, as we speak, there's a country called Mauritania. There's still slavery. The Arab majority are enslaving the Africans or the black people in Africa, not out of Africa, but still in Africa. We are seeing this. I was also shocked that even in Libya, as we speak today, the indigenous people, the Africans, especially in the southern part of Libya, where we have a lot of resources, in that particular place, that the black community were forced to adapt Arabic as their language and told to forget about their native languages. What kind of nonsense is that? And the people, because they were being tortured and killed, they had to do that. So what we really need to do? Let me go back again to the MR23 and the FDRL, whatever they call them. These militias have really sown chaos for over 3 decades. And the conflict is a legacy of multi-state wars that played out in Congo after the 1994 Rwandan genocide. But most people, or most political analysts, claim that the problem actually didn't start in 1994. It started prior to that, prior to 1994 Rwandan genocide. We are talking about the Rwandese president Paul Kagame, who has really done a tremendous job, especially to ensure Rwanda becomes a wonderful place to live, a peaceful place to live, build the economy. But we are really having a problem, especially whereby the UN organizations are accusing him of orchestrating or supporting the rebels who are now threatening to march to Kinshasa and take over a validly elected, let me call it validly elected, because I'm not in Congo to tell the Congolese people on what they need to do. But they elected their president, whichever way they elected him. They elected Tshisekedi and became a president. So many people are asking, what really happened? Why can't these people even sit down? A few weeks ago, one of our former president, President Uhuru Kenyatta, made it very clear by telling the African leaders that they are idiots. That is what he basically meant. They are idiots. Crying that, oh, President Trump now is really cutting aid to Africa. We don't need aid. We have more than enough. Actually, we are supposed to be giving these people aid. We have got wonderful resources. And these resources, if utilized very well, we can really make our country to move forward in a very, 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 very better economically than what we are basically seeing today. It's unfortunate that even in my own country, in Kenya, that people sleeping hungry, while we have everything to make our people self-sustainable or self-reliable, especially on food, water. I don't really understand what is really happening back in our country. In Congo right now, the MR23 rebels, which are backed by Rwandan troops, that is an information. That is information coming out of the UN organizations. They're accusing Mr. Kagame or President Kagame of backing rebels who have now gone to capture the eastern towns, and now they are in the provincial capital of Goma, and vowing to march to Kinshasa. We don't really understand why we should continue having these nonsensical factors, which are still deep-rooted in our heads, to continue happening. Can we as a community, can we as a continent push forward and elect leaders who are going to ensure that our countries or our continent move forward? Can't we have restrictions? Can't we have systems which work for the common man? Why should we let children die because of treatable diseases? Why should we not pay our doctors? Why should we not pay our nurses? Why should we not pay our teachers to ensure that we develop our human resource and manpower to ensure things actually move forward? What are we going to do as a community? Can the diaspora come back and form a formidable organization to go and tell these leaders off? We should actually even go to Addis Ababa when they are having their meetings. We disrupt them. We tell them they are nonsense. Whatever they are doing is just nonsensical. It's not fair. I'm really hungry about this particular incident happening in Congo, happening in Mauritania. What happened with the black skin? What's really happening? That today, as we are speaking, there are people still who are enslaved. What is happening? And then we say we got what we call African Union? What kind of nonsense is this? We don't have even enough army to go and stop the MR23? Are we really serious on what is happening? Why can't we just stand up and tell Kagame off if it is him, the alleged backer of MR23? And if true that the MR23 are Congolese Tutsis, why can't President Tshisekedi sit down with them and tell them, what do you want? You are Congolese. If they need national ID cards, let them be given. You can't chase people from their land. That is atrocious. It can't happen. Can you do something for your people so that they can respect you? Can you ensure everybody is well taken care of, rather than just having, we call them backdoor shows? I saw the South African leader, the President Cyril Ramaphosa, caution or giving threats to Rwanda that if they don't pull out from Goma, it will be a serious issue. And then what did President Kagame also say? They are declaring a war to South Africa. What kind of nonsense is this are we hearing from these people? And these MR-23s, why should we just take guns and start shooting on peacekeeping forces in Rwanda? I mean, in Congo. Are we crazy? Are they crazy? Or what is actually happening down there? I'm really perturbed by this particular information here. I'm really perturbed. I don't think this is the right way of doing stuff. I don't really think this is the right way of doing stuff. It's known. I mean, the history is known. The history is known. Look at this tiny country called Rwanda. Very tiny indeed. And the UN organization and other international organizations are accusing Rwanda or the president or the Rwanda government of backing rebels who wants now to go and capture or take power from validly elected president. Imagine they are going to march all the way from Goma here, going all the way up to Kinshasa, thousands of miles away from Kinshasa. But they vowed to march. What is the African diaspora doing? What are we supposed to do? What are we supposed to do? Let's focus and make it work for our countries, for our nations, for our continent. May God bless you. We'll continue with this series next week. Thank you so much, and may God bless you.